In the darkest days of World War II, a silent and brutal war was being fought. Not on the battlefields of Europe, but in the cold, unforgiving waters of the Atlantic Ocean. It was a battle for survival, a battle for the very lifeline that connected the Allied forces. But the Allies were losing. Their ships were being sent to the bottom at an unimaginable rate, stalked by an unseen and terrifying predator, the German U-boat. This is the story of how an almost forgotten piece of technology turned the tide of the war. How one Navy's Sky Patrol made Hitler's most feared weapon vanish from the Atlantic. By 1942, the situation was desperate. U-boat wolfpacks roamed the Atlantic with impunity. These submarines were the masters of stealth, hunting in groups, striking without warning. Their primary targets were the convoys, the slow, vulnerable merchant ships carrying vital supplies, food, fuel, weapons, and men. Everything needed to fight the war was at risk. For the sailors on these ships, every voyage was a journey into a graveyard. A torpedo strike was sudden and catastrophic. A flash of light, a deafening roar, and the cold, dark sea. Hundreds of ships were lost. Tens of thousands of lives were swallowed by the waves. The Allies were fighting back with destroyers and patrol planes, but the U-boats were winning. Planes were fast, but they couldn't stay over a convoy for long. Their loiter time was measured in hours. Ships were powerful, but they were blind to what lurked just beneath the surface. The U-boat captains were audacious. They would even surface at night to attack with deck guns. They were the silent hunters, and the Atlantic was their unchallenged hunting ground. The Allied command knew that if they lost the Battle of the Atlantic, they would lose the war. They needed a new weapon, a new strategy, something that could watch over the convoys day and night. They needed a guardian in the sky, a shield against the wolves below. The problem was endurance. No conventional aircraft could provide the constant cover that was needed. The convoys were too slow, the ocean too vast. A new idea was needed. But the solution came not from the future, but from the past. From an era of aviation that most people thought was long dead. The age of the airship, the blimp. To many, it seemed like a joke. The Hindenburg disaster had destroyed the world's faith in lighter-than-air travel. Blimps were seen as slow, fragile, and obsolete. Giant floating targets. But the US Navy saw something different. They saw a unique set of strengths, perfectly suited to fight the U-boat. They envisioned a new kind of weapon, a fleet of anti-submarine airships, a ghost fleet that could haunt the U-boats from above. It was a massive gamble, a return to a forgotten technology. But in the desperate days of 1942, it was a gamble they were willing to take. This is the hero of our story, the US Navy's K-class airship. Over 250 feet long, filled with non-flammable helium, it was a marvel of engineering. But its true power was not in its size, but in its abilities. First, its incredible endurance. A plane could fly for hours. A K-class blimp could stay in the air for days. One blimp even set a world record, staying airborne for over 200 hours without refueling. This meant they could escort a convoy for its entire journey along the coast. Second, its ability to loiter. A plane had to keep moving. A blimp could stop. It could hover motionless over a single spot, listening and watching. It could fly slowly, at the same speed as the convoy it was protecting. It could even fly backwards. And fourth, it was the perfect observation platform. Flying low and slow, its crew had an unparalleled view. From a blimp, you could see things a fast-moving plane would miss. The faint feather of a periscope breaking the surface. The dark, submerged shadow of a U-boat. The blimp could see into the U-boat's world. And fourth, It was not a helpless balloon. It was armed for war. It carried depth charges, a machine gun, and the latest detection gear, including early radar. It was not just a scout. It was a hunter-killer. The K-class blimps were deployed along the American coast and in the Caribbean. The Sky Patrol had begun. Their effect was immediate and utterly profound. But the blimp's greatest weapon was not the depth charges they carried. It was fear. For a U-boat captain, the single greatest fear was being spotted from the air. An attack from the air was a death sentence. And the sight of a blimp on the horizon was a U-boat commander's worst nightmare. Because of its endurance, the blimp was a constant, terrifying presence. It didn't just fly over and disappear. It stayed. It watched. A U-boat needs to surface to travel quickly, to charge its batteries, and to get a fix on its targets. But you cannot surface when a blimp is hovering overhead, watching your every move. The presence of a blimp forced the U-boats to stay submerged, and a submerged U-boat is slow, blind, and running out of air and power. It is not a hunter, it is prey. The wolfpacks, which had been so bold, were now paralyzed with fear. They couldn't attack the convoys without exposing themselves to the silent guardians in the sky. So they had two choices: stay submerged and let the convoy pass, or flee the area entirely. The blimps didn't need to sink every U-boat. They just needed to be seen. They created a protective bubble around the convoys, a no-go zone for the wolfpacks. This is how the Sky Patrol made the U-boats vanish. They didn't sink them all. They simply made it impossible for them to hunt. The success of the blimp program was nothing short of staggering. The Navy's Ghost Fleet flew thousands of missions, escorting tens of thousands of ships. And in all those missions, their final record is almost unbelievable. Over the course of the entire war, not a single ship was lost to an enemy submarine while under the protection of a U.S. Navy blimp. Let that sink in. A 100% success rate. The slaughter in the Atlantic coastal waters, which had claimed hundreds of ships, had been stopped. The lifeline was secure. The tide of the battle had turned. The blimps directly attacked dozens of U-boats and are credited with sinking at least one, but their true victory was in the thousands of attacks that never happened. The thousands of lives saved not by fighting, but by silent, constant vigilance. Life on the Sky Patrol was grueling. Missions could last for 2 days or more. The crews flew in cramped, unheated gondolas, enduring hours of boredom, punctuated by moments of terror. They were a special breed of airmen, a unique mix of sailor and pilot. Their stories are filled with incredible feats of airmanship, battling storms and mechanical failures. One blimp, caught in a storm, was even successfully landed on the deck of an aircraft carrier, a feat thought impossible. So, why have these incredible heroes and their perfect record been so completely forgotten by history? The answer lies in their nature. They were not glamorous. History remembers the dashing fighter pilot, the mighty battleship, the epic tank battle. The blimp was slow, strange-looking, and its work was subtle. Its greatest achievement was preventing battles, not winning them. And prevention is rarely a glorious headline. After the war, with the dawn of the jet age and the helicopter, the blimp was once again seen as obsolete. The Navy's Ghost Fleet was dismantled, and its incredible story faded into obscurity. The K-class blimp was not a superweapon. It was something far more important. It was the right tool at the right time for a very specific and critical job. It proved that in warfare, the most effective weapon isn't always the fastest or the most powerful. Sometimes it is the one that can simply outlast the enemy, the one that can watch and wait. The Sky Patrol was a testament to ingenuity, a willingness to embrace an unconventional idea. It saved countless lives and played a vital yet unsung role in the Allied victory. They were the forgotten guardians of the Atlantic, the silent hunters of the U-boat, the unsung heroes of the U.S. Navy's Ghost Fleet.